Hey everyone, Jedediah Thomas, the Mind Master here. So today I wanted to just give an update about kind of where I'm headed, where the business is headed, and all of that. So the last State of the Onion that I did wasn't really about me or that. It was, about other things. And so this is the update that I'm really going to give kind of, on me and my situation and the business and everything. So I started this work almost exactly 2 years ago now. It was December of 2022. And literally overnight, I started being able to fix stuff that nobody else could in the mind. A lot of my clients have said that I'm basically the best they've ever seen. Like one client said they spent over $250,000 in personal growth over the years, and my stuff blows theirs out of the water. People have been, comparing me to Tony Robbins, and saying that my stuff is vastly better, many times better. Any modality that you can come across, I've been able to do more, better, faster results with, my methodologies that I came up with. And up to this point, I've really been just kind of broadcasting out my message into the world, right? Into the void. And it hasn't really been specifically targeted. It was more of kind of like a proof of concept type of thing of like, hey, here I am, this is what I can do. And in kind of a big way, nothing really came of that. And I think partly it's just too new for people. Some people would rather try something that's been around for, 50 years, even if it doesn't work, than something that's brand new that actually does work. So that's a part of it. I'm sure some people just don't want to be better. They would rather have something that doesn't work specifically because it doesn't work. So that's possible as well. And then, a lot of the stuff that I talk about is probably extremely off the wall, I'm sure, but the knowledge of that stuff is what allows me to do what nobody else can do. And so I'm kind of at a juncture where I feel like I have done the research. I've had more than 30 clients. I've basically developed a body of evidence. I have plenty of testimonials already posted on the YouTube channel, and I've got, several more that are coming in and that I need to post. And so I'm kind of at the point where I want to actually start making money with what I'm doing in a big way because I really haven't, right? And so it's been something more of a hobby. And when I started it out, I was never really trying to become the world's foremost expert in the mind, even though that's what I became basically overnight. And then once I had that, like I didn't really know what to do with it, right? It was kind of hard for me to believe the results that people were getting. Then I tried my methodology on myself, and the results were unbelievable and phenomenal. But I never kind of felt comfortable on a more professional stage because I like, what's my credibility, right? I don't have any background. I've never even taken a psychology class, much less, have any kind of degree in what I'm doing. Um, which doesn't really matter because a lot of what I'm doing is spiritual in nature, right? Not psychological. And that's why psychology misses the mark, is because they don't understand that there is a spiritual world. But it's coming to the point where um I want to start doing something more with this, right? And so that kind of splits off into two different directions, right? There's the very spiritual side, and then there's the monetization side, right? The actually running this um, product or service as a business, if you will. So on the monetization side, it's probably the more practical. It's where I should start. Um, Based on what I can do to this point and what I keep getting better basically every time I have a new client. And so it's going to get to the point very quickly within the next year or two where I can reasonably charge $50,000 an hour for what I do. There's literally nobody else on the planet who can do this, right? I think there was like well, I won't talk about that because then they'll come after me. But anyways, there are people who charge an exorbitant amount of money to do 0.001% of what I can do, right? And it's ridiculous. And they're making a ton of money and they're basically charlatans. I'll leave it at that. But what I can do is actually real. And I'm the only person on the planet who can do it. And the world needs what I do. And there's a huge demand for it. But I need to actually take advantage of that demand in a meaningful way. Now, I understand that $50,000 an hour is probably something that a very small subset of people on the planet could reasonably afford, which means is that I need to actually start doing my marketing more towards the people who can afford it, right? Like this channel has just been very general, just like, me preaching to the world, here's how the mind works, here's, what's really wrong and whatnot. And, the people that I'm attracting, the people that are coming on, they're good people, but they don't have that kind of money. And, generally speaking. So I'm going to be going in a more professional direction with my services. I'm going to be targeting C-level executives. I've worked on probably 4 or 5 C-level people to this point. One of those is the person that I mentioned earlier that had spent $250,000. A couple of my longest standing clients have been, C-level business owners, entrepreneurs, and it's a very good environment for me to work in because, they're basically just looking for the little edge, right? Whereas some of the people that I've had to fix are like, you know, mentally speaking, like their problems have been so enormous, it's been kind of a drain on me fixing them, even though I've been able to do it. It was kind of starting to pull me down. So I'd personally like to be in a more um positive, higher level, high performing, high functioning environment, such as, corporate C-level stuff like that, because it's just going to be better on, my own state. And then the problems that I'll have to fix are going to be minor in comparison, right? Just because I can fix basically every problem in the mind doesn't mean that I want to spend all my time doing it, because I have a life as well. So that's going to be kind of the direction I'm going in on the monetization side. I'll be launching a website within the next week or two. I'll be very heavily targeting C-level executives, focusing on LinkedIn. Whereas up to this point, I've been really kind of using Facebook and YouTube as, kind of like my main platforms. Whether I create a YouTube channel around C-level executives, I don't know yet. If that's needed, I will, but I'll leave this channel up for, a body of evidence. If anyone needs to know that it's real, that's totally fair. But in terms of marketing, I'm going to have to kind of really figure out what that's going to look like, practically speaking. So LinkedIn for sure. I'll have a professional website. I've had my domain for almost a year now. I haven't really done anything with it. I'm getting, lists of C-level executives to be able to email and all this stuff, right? So I'm just going in a much more professional direction with that. And what that means for this channel, like I said, I'll leave it up, but I probably won't be making videos all the time, right? So as I take on new clients, I might, if I have like some kind of crazy development, I can make a new video. But what I'm noticing is that I've already figured out the mind, right? It's like every problem that people would consider to be a mental problem, all of them come down to like the same 3 or 4 things, no matter what it is, right? No matter what symptoms present and whatever, the psychology world calls it, it's the same 3 or 4 things. And so it's like how many more advancements can I get on that? I don't know. It's like it's probably not very much. But on the spiritual side of things, the advancements are extraordinary, right? So we're kind of segueing in from the practical monetization standpoint to the spiritual side of things. So I realized very quickly in doing this work, there's a huge spiritual component to what I'm doing, and it's like on a ridiculous level. It's to the point where I've realized it actually needs to be its own religion, right? The things that we can do, me and the priesthood that I've trained. If governments knew what we were capable of, we probably wouldn't still be around. Like it's um you know, it's more profound than anything that you've ever heard of in your life. And so we're trying to actually build a religion around that. And that's really where my heart is, right? So I'm going in the professional direction because I need money and, I need to, make a living with it. But my passion, my focus is actually going to be starting the church and training priests and actually doing services and bringing some of this stuff kind of more to the people, right? The people who need it, who can't afford it. And so what that will probably look like is Sunday services, very kind of liturgical based, ritual based. Um, and again, this is not a religious channel, so I'm not, just turning this channel into a religious channel. If anything, I might make another YouTube channel about the church, but it might be a podcast. It might be, I haven't figured that out yet. Um, so that's another logistical side. But my point is that the Sunday services will just be kind of the story of man coming to God and God, receiving man and blessing man. And it's interesting because nobody's actually found God, right? And God has been around for thousands of years, all of human history, and everyone has gotten glimpses of God, but no one has actually understood him, right? And we're changing that, and that's why we have a whole religion. It's not a made up thing. It's the first religion that actually has God. And that's extremely important. And so what we're doing is, like I said, Sunday services, just kind of the story, the educational side of things. And then say like Saturday night, there will probably be some kind of service to facilitate um, people getting trauma removed, right? So trauma removal is one of the first couple methodologies that I invented 2 years ago. And it's probably the only methodology that I'm using that would be, how shall I say it, fit for mass consumption, right? To actually teach a massive amount of people how to do it and then have that as part of, the clergy and healing people. And it's just kind of like assembly line up 5 minutes, remove your trauma, 5 minutes, remove your trauma, right? So actually getting through possibly, dozens of people in a night, getting, one trauma a week removed. And so it will be a great service to mankind and actually starting to heal people. And as far as like the legal structure, that's been kind of the holdup with it, is because I'm not very familiar with starting a religion, right? There's not very many people who are. I know of people who have started churches based on an existing religion, but to me, starting an entire new religion is something I have to, figure out and, get the legal support and everything that I would need to do it above board and in the right way and actually be recognized as a real valid religion. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, does it need to be a nonprofit and then we just do the services through that by donation? Is it a nonprofit and then we do kind of like a sub LLC or something that actually performs the service under the ownership of the church, or should it be an actual for-profit religion? I haven't figured that out. If anyone knows any lawyers that could help me navigate that, it would be greatly appreciated. Because I'm literally trying to get this off the ground in a big way. I want this to actually be a real true religion because the world needs God. And every religion that has existed has worshipped a being that is not God. I'll say that. So God wants to be known to the world, and God is love, and God is truth and goodness. And any religion that says they follow God is not following God, because you look at what their religions do, and you're like, geez, if that's God, then it'd be better to be an atheist, right? But God's not like that at all. It's just those religions are twisted and perverted in their understanding of God and the spiritual world. But all of that's going to be corrected. Now, as far as what that looks like practically speaking, right now I've had kind of an interest group on Facebook, not huge, but that's again, Facebook has kind of been my primary hub for doing that. Um, I would like to have some kind of local, actual physical location. I might like rent a local office to do that. kind of like a shared office type of thing. That's a possibility. I'm also very much involved in the world of raising capital right now. Like, I'm in the world where I'm one or two connections away from literally all of the world's wealth. I'm talking to people who know billionaires. I'm talking to people who know millionaires and rubbing elbows with them every single day. And the amount of money that's going through some of the stuff that they're doing is ridiculous. Like, hundreds of millions of dollars type of thing. And so I want to actually start several projects that will probably involve me raising capital, which is going to be I want to create a spiritual retreat center, which will possibly be something like the church home base. And then people can say the clergy will be able to come and learn how to perform the methodology. People could come to, get away and get healed. And possibly we could, rent that out to other executives or other organizations to kind of use that as a cash flowing asset as well. So that's one thing I want to get up and running. The second major project is going to be I don't really know how to call this, but it would be basically like a battered men's shelter, right? So there's a lot of battered women's shelter, and it's primarily centered on women receiving, physical abuse from men. But in a very big way in our society, men are cut out and villainized and demonized and accused of stuff that's not real, and they don't have a safe space, right? So this would be something of a place where men could come suffering from emotional abuse or whatever other kind of abuse that they're suffering at the hands of women, and it would be a way for them to get away and actually have someone that will listen to them. And of course, we can employ our healing methodologies as well, to start to actually get them out of their situations, their all of their suffering and everything that's going on. So those are going to be pretty much the most capital intensive sides of what we're doing. And so that's something that I'll need to be, doing, learning how to raise capital and actually doing that for those projects. So there are big plans in place for the actual, business side of things, for the actual spiritual religious church side of things. But how that looks in terms of social media platforms, that's what I'm not sure about, right? Like, how much do I post on this YouTube channel versus this YouTube channel versus this platform, this is that platform? Um, I don't know yet, right? I'm working with people who are much better at marketing than I am, and they're going to help me figure all that out, and including one person who was a coach for Tony Robbins for multiple years, and they said my stuff blows Tony Robbins stuff out of the water. So it's like the people that I'm talking to, it's like you don't see the evidence because you don't see what's going on behind the scenes. So it probably sounds crazy or made up to you, but it's very real. And I'm moving forward in a big way, in a way that I haven't for the last couple years, right? So there's going to be a divergence, right? There's going to be a very premium priced service offering for C-level executives, or people who can afford it, basically. And then there's going to be a spiritual religious church side of things for people who just want to know God, right? And I'll have to figure out how that fits together legally and how we can work that. Like I said, I am looking for a lawyer to help me sort that out. I don't know anyone who's quite done it the way that I'm doing it. I think the closest I've seen is like the Church of Scientology. They did something kind of similar, but what I'm doing is even a little bit more different than what they did, and I don't know if it's ever been done before the way I'm trying to do it. So I'll probably I might give some updates on this YouTube channel about that, but like I said, I'm not trying to turn this into a spiritual channel, right? If anything, I'll make another spiritual channel around that because it will be very church focused, right? Whereas this is kind of like what is the mind focused. And like I said, I've already figured out the mind, right? It's more complicated than anyone else knows, but it's a lot simpler than they think, right? It's kind of a weird paradox. But the spiritual world, I'm only scratching the surface, and the things that me and the priesthood are doing are truly groundbreaking as far as I know in the history of human civilization. The things that we're doing have never been done. Maybe if there was such a thing as like a prior advanced civilization, like in the ice ages or whatever, maybe they figured some of this stuff out. But as far as written human history, nobody has ever actually understood the nature of God, how to talk with God, how to receive messages from God, and actually how that works in the practical world. Everyone has been, many religions worship an actual spiritual being, but that spiritual being is not actually God, and it's not good, right? And they've been masquerading as good, and that's why you have all of these religions basically just committing all of these atrocities and killing people and all of this stuff, is because they're not actually worshiping God. And so, like I said, we're trying to correct that. So that's kind of like a stream of consciousness dump on the directions that I'm going. Like I said, logistically, in terms of social media, I don't know what that looks like. The real world is a lot more figured out than the social media side, because I don't have a background in marketing, right? I have other backgrounds, and the marketing world is something that I'm learning, but it's still kind of very new to me. So it may evolve in different ways in terms of the messaging or the targeting or this or that. But if you don't see me as much on here, it's because I'm actually working on one of these two projects. I'm either, trying to get the church up and running and offering services through the church, and or I'm working on the corporate level, actually getting paid what I'm worth for doing stuff that nobody else on the planet can do. Right. And like I said, there's been about three or four people, maybe four or five, that I've worked on that were C-level, and their whole lives just like turned around. So, um, as always, if you have any questions or any specific co- content requests, wow, I don't know what happened to my brain. Any content requests, let me know. I'll probably still answer some questions to some degree, right? If anyone is interested. Um, but just know, like, the path to working with me is either going to be through the church, or it's going to be you're going to be paying quite a bit to be able to work with me. And that's just the reality of it. So, hopefully this was insightful for you. Hopefully you had a good Thanksgiving if you're in the US. It's just about a week after Thanksgiving. Looking forward to the upcoming holidays. And however, wherever we see each other again, I have no idea. But just know that that's kind of the what's going on behind the scenes. And then next time you see me, it might be might be a published author. I might be, you know, on podcast or famous, or something, right? So there's no real need for me to keep this up, because I'm not marketing to the masses anymore. I'm marketing to the people that can actually afford the benefits that I provide. So thank you for watching, and I'll catch you as God wills. All right. Bye.